Okay, one more topic that we'll be studying when we look at functions is independent and dependent variables. And I think if you're in science, you have studied these and they really are the exact same thing. So at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify the independent and dependent variables given a situation. All right, first of all, in case you're not familiar with it, the independent variable is the input variable. It's usually the x, and the dependent variable is the output variable, and it's usually the y. All right, just to make sure that we get clear what independent means. If I say that I am an independent person, that means I am my own boss. I can do whatever I want. So the independent variable, I think I get to pick it. I have control over it. It's my choice. What do I want to do? All right, and then the dependent is going to depend, your answer is going to depend on what you pick for your independent variable. All right, so let's just look at a couple examples so that makes sense. All right, example, there are 50 calories in every Oreo cookie. The total calories you intake is a function of the number of Oreo cookies you eat. Name the independent and dependent variables. So the independent and the dependent. I think I put way too many D-E-s, sorry about that. Okay, so let's think about this situation and what do you have a choice over? You have a choice. You get to decide how many Oreo cookies you eat. So it's not going to be, so we're just going to put independent is going to be the number of Oreo cookies. That's your choice. All right, so the dependent is, now what depends on how many Oreos you eat? What depends on it is the total calories you intake. So total calorie intake. So that's going to depend on how many Oreo cookies you eat. So that's independent and dependent. Okay, we're going to be looking at this final example. At a community center, art lessons are offered at night. The fee is $12 per lesson. You plan to attend up to 5 lessons. The amount you will spend is a function of the number of lessons you attend. So we need the independent and dependent variable. Since we just did an example, I would love for you to pause the video and see if you can write these down and then come back and check how you did. All right, independent. We get to, it's what is in my control? What do I get to choose? I don't get to choose how much they're going to charge me. I get to choose how many lessons I attend. So I'm going to say number of art lessons. That's something I get control over. Okay, what's the dependent variable? Well, the price that I'm going to have to pay depends on how many art lessons I take. So this is going to be the amount spent on art lessons. Okay, so next thing it says to do is a table of values. And my table of values, I can go up to 5 lessons. So I'm going to go ahead and put an X and a Y. And I'm going to put just an X and a Y here so they know exactly what I'm talking about. My X, I don't have to take any art lessons, and I can take up to 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and then my Y is going to be how much I'm going to end up spending. So if I don't go to any lessons, guess what? I don't have to spend any money. If I go to 1 lesson, it's going to cost me $12. If I go to 2 lessons, it's going to cost me $24. If I go to 3 lessons, it's going to be $36. If I go to 4 lessons, it will be $48. And if I go to 5 lessons, it will be $60. So that's my table of values. Okay, and then remembering back from a previous video in a lesson, we did domain and range, and remember domain is just a list of the X, and the range is the list of the Y. So what would make sense? So a couple different ways that we could do this. We could just list 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might also list it as a range. I can go anywhere from 0 to 5 lessons. All right, so you can decide how you'd like to list that. And then the range, again, a couple ways that I can do that. I can just go ahead and list those values. Okay, or I could say I could end up spending anywhere from 0 to $60. I'd probably prefer this method, but it is totally up to you which way you'd like to write that. So hopefully now you can find an independent and dependent variable.